Yep. And
Who
so
all ain't here?
Say what, Devin?
Who's all not here?
Well, a lot of people. But it's nice because usually we, people are rolling in like for 15 minutes. So it'd be kind of nice. We have enough people now that I would say, let's just go ahead and get the meeting started. And then, and we could have, Lauren, who's a first timer here, introduce herself, and then maybe give Sarah also some time. She's with, so Lauren is with Mountain Sun Botanicals, a farm here. And then Sarah is a co-owner of the Hired Calling, which is a wholesaler here. And in my opinion, one of the more ethical wholesalers, somebody that cares, has good practices, doesn't screw people. So yeah, so that's good, right? That's good news. So I mean, to also, for the people who are watching this that may have not gotten the video or the email that I had sent last night, or Tuesday, we had a board meeting. We interviewed Mark Lapalia, who's here right now, and Rhea Miller with Millersville Farms. And Mark, what's your business name again? For some reason, it doesn't roll off my tongue quite as well as it needs to.
Alta Gardens.
Alta. So I know your legal name, Rose Soul. That's how I know it. But the brand is Alta Gardens, yeah. And then Rhea with Millersville Farms, we voted them on as farm owners, and so that's really good. And then we voted on Sarah with Green Bandit and Patrick with Rogue Ganja on as board members. And so that brings us up to 8 farm owners, which is really great. And we also voted to have as many as 11 board members on the board. That was another vote that we voted on. And then some other details like specifics in regard to what we're going to allow in the menu, what we're not going to, and some specific board policy, I guess. So that was a really great meeting. So thank you very much for all of us who attended that. So let's just go ahead and go forward. Hey, Lauren, do you want to introduce yourself?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. I was having a hard time getting everything set up. Hi, Greg's here with me as well.
Hey, everybody.
Okay.
And
hey.
we own Mountain Sun out in Rouge. So we've been in the industry since the beginning with our rec license, and we're glad to be here.
Right on. Is there anything else what makes you special, Lauren?
Oh, wow. I'm blushing.
What makes you
we're
special?
still in the industry, and we're still in the industry, and we have enthusiasm for it. And, we're doing what we love. And maybe that's all that makes us special. Yeah.
Now you guys are doing some, you've got product that sells out every year, and that makes you special. And then and you've got some other stuff going on. Do you want to talk about that, or do you?
So we've been doing a lot of work with our nursery, and we've been making genetics available to other farms. We've got a vast collection of genetics that's ever expanding. Right now, we've got over 200 strains that we hold. And so, our nursery has been kind of a part of what's made it easier for us in the last little bit. We like to offer things to spruce up people's gardens, as well as, we really like seeing all the different expressions of the plant. It makes going to work a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah,
other than that, we just pretty much are always trying to keep it fresh. We don't really grow. We don't keep things in the stable for very long before we let them out, and we move frequently from strain to strain, which makes us interesting for our purchasers.
Yeah. Well, I was talking to Lauren just yesterday about a little bit about what you guys are doing there, and it seems to me that you guys would be potentially a really good contributor to the co-op, if not farm owner. And in that, because you guys you propagate and you have these various strains, that one of the things that we feel like we might run into as a co-op is that our menu might get saturated with the same kinds of strains. And wouldn't it be interesting to have somebody who has more strains available that could potentially contribute by helping us diversify what we're offering by saying like, okay, well, it looks like we've got this much of all these strains, and like maybe after we reach like kind of our maximum number of farms, in order to bring more farms, we need more novel strains. So maybe if there's somebody who wants to be on the farm but they can't, or on the co-op because they can't, because they don't have a unique strain that would actually contribute to the menu, instead of just saturating it with you know, the same strains that other farms are carrying, then they could be introduced to something that could be more popular by you guys or something like that. Just a thought.
Yeah, that's it. That's an interesting thought. We definitely, that's part of what we do, is we offer that to farms to be able to spruce up their genetic library with things that we you know, find, and things that, you know, are gifted to us. So yeah, that's part of our shtick anyways. So
Yeah,
sure.
perfect. Okay, cool. Does anybody have any questions for Greg and Lauren?
What's your hot top 5 strains right now?
Oh man, the pink certs is amazing. That one's really great. The RS11, that one lives up to the hype. Everybody loves Cheetah Piss.
Cheetah Piss?
Yeah, Cheetah Piss. Like I was expecting more of ammonium terps, but honestly, it's got more of a lemonade terpene profile, which was kind of a letdown for me. But I think the name has a lot of attraction because people are vulgar. And the one I'm really excited about right now is the permanent marker. I just saw that one in flower, and it's pretty incredible as well.
Yeah, so Cheetah Piss is right up there with like sour monkey balls or something like that, right?
Yeah, people have an affinity for the vulgar strain names. Yeah, I don't get it. I just follow the hype.
Yeah. So there was a question in the chat. What farm are you guys with? Do you want to reintroduce your farm, or I can? I'll introduce you. Sorry. Mountain Sun Botanicals. So Greg and Lauren, who are in the dark right here, they're with Mountain Sun Botanicals, located in Applegate, or Rouge, you said.
Yep,
Yeah, we're in Rouge.
Yep, perfect.
I'm working on my camera.
Okay, cool. And I'm sure we'll have a few more people rolling in, so you might get that question again. So Sarah Erste, sorry, I hope I'm not botching your last name. Sarah, how do you say your last name?
Erste.
Erste, okay, great. Do you want to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you and what you got going on?
Yeah, sure thing. My name is Sarah, and I am a third of the Higher Calling, which is technically a wholesale. That's the license we have, but we don't really like to, put that forward because we don't operate like a regular wholesale. I started in the industry in 2016 on a farm and did, from the logistics to helping with the labor and trying to figure out how to work in this industry and make things work. And then moved over to Angels, which was Inc., then became ABC Co-op. And so sort of had my hand in a lot of the distribution and inventory and working with purchasers and figuring out how to get SKUs to places and help people with schedules. And what we really did there a lot was help small businesses. At that point, it was mostly brands, but then some farms get the connection to the dispensaries, because someone who's creating a craft product can't really drive around our very large state and keep these relationships and know what's going on and know what prices are happening and still be good at making their product. It kind of stretches people thin. So what two of my other two partners came from there as well, and they kind of have a background in different brands in sales and distribution, and we kind of try to be the connection between small brands and the dispensaries and fill the holes. And our primary goal is to make sure that craft cannabis still exists in Oregon and that big brands don't take over everything. And so a lot of that has to do with delivery, storage, relationships with purchasers. That's a huge thing, is that some of the purchasers we've had relationships with since 2016, and that is why they still work with us. That is why we can get a little better price from them. That is why they'll take stuff when, you know, they don't want to. And that changes a lot, and companies are being bought like crazy, different purchasers going to different places. And so keeping those relationships is truthfully what I think makes a huge difference. And it's really hard to do that when that's not your main job. And so if you're trying to run your farm, create a product, do a brand, deal with all the things that come with that, it's really hard to be able to follow the demands of these different purchasers, and they're big. And I'm not saying we like them, because we don't, but they are in charge because they buy the things. And so if they need delivery on Thursday between 4 to 6, like, that is not possible for all farms, but it is possible for a company who's focusing on doing that. And we're really, you know, right now we basically work for 4 main farms, and our commitment is generally to sell out their farm. Like, we are committed to doing our best to sell what they can. We don't have any exclusivity. A farm is welcome to sell who they want to. The only thing that we ask is that it's transparent and we're not wrecking our reputation or their reputation by manipulating price. We found it pretty easy to have good partners. We work with Mountain Sun and 2 other farms in the Applegate, and then one out in Cave Junction, and some indoor farms in the northern parts of the state. And the most important thing we think is just communication. And we ask for a bottom price that you'll accept, and that gives us freedom to go talk to purchasers, take show pounds around. We don't really store product unless you're asking us to. We're not really like, let me come take all your product and I'll give you $300 a pound back. That's not how we operate, and it's not very realistic. But once we find something that might not be what you told us you wanted, then we just have a conversation with you. Say, hey, we could do this. Hey, we think this is a good move for you. Basically trying to figure out trends monthly, what strains are hot. We're moving towards marketing and branding best we can, but again, that costs money and time, and that's things we're all short on. And so trying to keep everybody, relevant in the industry without overstressing them, and taking care of all the logistics best we can, sort of what we do.
Yeah, right on. Yeah, I'm pretty, we've had a few conversations, and what I'm impressed by is Sarah's just policy about not like kind of robbing Peter to pay Paul. I mean, I'm super surprised by some of these companies, these wholesalers around here that, well, in Oregon, I don't want to say around here specifically, but just in Oregon, who were around in 2017 when the market got flooded, and they weren't practicing good business, and they started to sell their clients' products, and then take that money and pay a different farm with it, thus creating like kind of a Ponzi scheme, because their margins went down and they couldn't pay their bills to keep their overhead bills. So they started to like kind of do this robbing Peter to pay Paul. And a lot of people got really stiff during that time. And those same businesses are doing it again, like now. And like, how is that possible? Did you not? Because it's one thing to have made a mistake the first time, and now it's just an ethical issue. Like now it's like you're kind of like incriminating yourself in a way. But it is what we deal with. I like the higher calling because it's low overhead, good group of people, and the policy is, we don't pay you until we get paid, but we don't pay our bills until everybody is taken care of, then we get paid. And that's the way I think it's supposed to be, for sure. So that's very cool. And Rhea and whoever may be joining now. We got Sarah Erste here with the Higher Calling distribution company, as well as Lauren and Gregg, Mountain Sun. Hey, and they just showed up. You guys are upside down. That's cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
Upside down Thursdays.
you're gonna be here one way or another, so that's cool. Does anybody have any questions for Sarah? Greg? Or is that, or you were hanging? Never mind. Greg was hanging upside down. Okay. Always a good time. Always a good time. Right on. So we don't necessarily have an agenda. I mean, I certainly have stuff I want to talk about. My ongoing visits with dispensaries and whatnot. And actually, Sarah, just for your information, and Lauren, like kind of the way we're operating right now is the co-op is kind of a place that's going to foster mutual survival right now, as well as potential like success in the industry. But right now it's a little bit more survival, and we don't have any kind of like strict code of like you can only sell through like the co-op menu or anything like that. It's very clear to us that we try to get people, we're trying to do direct sales to dispensaries, and we try to get people to go to the LeafLink menu, and we try to get people to order from there. But really it's almost like, hey, why don't you, dispensary owner, get to know the members of the co-op? And there is no like strict policy that you can only buy off the menu. If you dispensary want to establish a relationship with a farm member, by all means. And in fact, we have the option for farms to subscribe to their own LeafLink menu at a steeply discounted rate, so that if, say, a dispensary goes to the menu and wants to see a little bit more of what Rogue Ganja has to offer, then they can go to Rogue Ganja's menu. There is no like kind of strict policy like that. We're just like, we're very much just more of like a collaboration versus an organization that's looking to maximize profit. So however we can do that and get and make the farms successful, that's what we're trying to do to survive and thrive at this point.
Yeah, and just a small note on that, that frequently happens when we offer them a menu. In fact, sometimes we'll take on a brand of product that we just do deliveries for, because that will happen. We'll do a delivery for someone and a purchaser who would not respond to our emails, not take our calls, not be interested in a flower show. You get in their office and you start talking about, you know, this strain you smoked or this strain you picked up, or mention a few names, and they're like, oh, I'd look at that. And so that frequently does happen, that they might not have checked it out, but they start looking at the menu of the co-op, and then they're like, oh, I recognize this, or, oh, I see this strain. Can I hear more about this farmer? It generally, as much as this wants to be a functioning big business model, it still is a lot of name dropping and what piques people's interest. I mean, a strain that doesn't sell in 5 stores, you go and someone's like, oh, I love that name. I'll buy 5 pounds of that. Like, there really isn't a lot of rhyme or reason to that. It's still driven by what people like, or what they heard, or who they like. So that is it's a good starting point to have a menu, and then know that people can move off of it, because having a strict guideline with any of these dispensaries is not a good plan. They don't follow them. It's what they want most of the time. Which, again, we're lucky to be able to fulfill that. I feel like I don't want to say too many negative things. It's difficult and challenging, but it's doable for sure. It's just flexibility. Be flexible. Survive in advance.
Hey, Mark, you have your hand up. Wait a second. Mark, we're not hearing you for some reason. You sound muffled for some reason.
I don't know. Why is it muffled?
You're muffled. It's weird.
How about this? Is it
Hey.
working?
I am.
Okay, sorry. I
Your
didn't set
connection,
wrong.
your connection's a little slow, but that's definitely better.
Oh, yeah. Out in the boonies. Sorry, we're on like 2. Yeah, anyway. So how many dispensaries do you work with?
I'd say between like 150 and 200.
Wow.
Some very infrequent sales, and some we have about 40 dispensaries that we work with consistently.
Right
Very
on.
cool.
Hey, Sarah, you had your hand up.
Brian did. This is Brian, by the
Oh,
way.
Brian. Hi.
Sarah, Greg, and Lauren. Hello. Brian, Sarah, Green Bandit.
All right, I guess I could lower my hand. Yeah, I just wanted to speak with Sarah for just a moment about like what would be the first step to getting my farm introduced to you, showing you our product. I really like everything I mean, obviously the co-ops here are interested in working with you. I like everything I've heard that you said so far. And it sounds like a winning strategy. We've worked with a wholesaler in the past who did a similar thing, and then they were one way or another, and I don't know what they were doing wrong, but they were breaking the law and they got in trouble. And like, because they were doing whatever other business dealings they were doing, or they're whoever within that chain. But they were making the effort to do something that was a little more small scale. It was more focused directly to dispensaries and making relationships, which is like the only way that we've found success this year is for us to make direct relationships with dispensaries. It's like the repeat customers are the ones that really support our business. And then the one-offs, those, we just hope that the one-off sales become multiple sales, but it's really the ones that are, buying month after month that keep us alive. So yeah, I know this year is a very uphill battle. Like what's left in 2021 stock for everybody is getting of lesser and lesser value as we approach harvest and all that. So I don't see a lot of I doubt there's a big angle for you to clear out much of anyone's inventory this year, but I would like to, move forward with you and get product in your hands sooner than later.
Yeah, so the first thing, one of the major things that is, kind of it's fortunate and unfortunate is that we cannot overfill our menu because what we do is commit to the people that we're working with. And so right now in the sun-grown category, well, and I would say we could just not talk about this current year, but moving forward to like this fresh harvest, because what we like to do is generally meet a farm, see what they have, see their menu, kind of let them know what we think, what our price point is. And if our menu is already full in that category from the farms that we consistently work with, then we kind of don't take you on as a full customer, but we sort of, it's like a secondary level. We'll do delivery for you. We'll see your menu. And if we're ever shopping for things we can't find, like lots of times we'll get an order for bee buds or a lot of trim or something like that. And then we'll go from our primary farms. If they don't have it, then we'll move on to these, like, we currently really only have one person in this category who's like, he's our secondary farm that if I couldn't fulfill an order based from the 4 or 5 farms I work with, I will go to him first and see what he has. Or if we ever have a large order we can't fill, something specific that our farms don't have, we go to those farms next. My big hope is, because we see a big shift sort of happening in there being less sun grown, and we haven't even seen a lot of fresh light depth coming out. And I know some of the farms that we currently work with have changed their model a little to have more greenhouse and less sun grown. And we have a lot of dispensaries that have made relationships and expect this flower from our current farms. And so what we're hoping is to have like a space where other people are looking for sun grown. And I don't ever want to say it this way because it doesn't feel good when you're the farmer, and I know that, but sort of like a more economy budget flower, knowing that it's going to be maybe just machine trimmed, maybe buy in bulk, fill the shelf consistently. And so that is where we'd be looking for additional farms. But we always are happy to meet a new farm and see what you have, and potentially you grow something that other farms don't grow, and do deliveries and do sort of auxiliary things. And something else we do is consulting on some level. Again, similar to the wholesale, I don't really like the word consulting because we're in an industry that's ever changing and no one's really the master of what they know, but we're trying to take what we know and share it with you, and, share, both of my partners are in dispensaries every day, all day. That's what they do. And I see maybe like a quarter of the dispensaries that they see, but this is like, what did the purchaser say this week? What's happening? What strains do they see? And kind of even being able to share that knowledge with you guys if we're not actually selling your product, but being able to come on these meetings, tell you what prices we're seeing, say, like, I'm advising people not to hand trim everything that comes down. Take your A flower first, like things that we have seen be places where farms have lost money because they didn't know what was going to happen. And also, disclaimer, we don't know what's going to happen either. we try to say what we think we see, but we're not, people ask me all the time, what's the price going to be in this? How much do you think you can move? Or what trends are happening? I'm like, no, there are none. Last week in June, I thought we wouldn't move half the flower we moved. Now we're feeling really great about the space that each and every one of the farms we work with is at. And we have seen we see really great brands that we know selling at a cheaper price. We see surprisingly high prices for indoor, and it's actually moving. And so we see good things and bad things. And so the first step would probably be just a meeting, come out to your farm, see your flowers, see what's going on, let you guys know, prices of distribution, prices of everything we do, and kind of how our scale works, and then sort of move forward with your menu at that point. Or, be able to set up a time and be like, could you show some flower around? Because sometimes what we can do too is show some flower around to a couple of spots that are our purchasers we're good friends with, basically, and say, hey, what would you buy this at? So we can come back to you and say, hey, they would buy your machine trim flower at X amount of dollars so you have some idea if people are lowballing you, or, give you some insight of like, if someone asks you for this amount of product for this is what they're doing with, don't take terms, things like that. We're happy to share that information because we do want everyone to succeed, but we do want to make sure that we don't make that mistake of every other wholesale of overcommitting and saying, I can sell all the sun-grown. But we are committed to hoping that sun-grown still has a stance. And we sort of see it like, I make a lot of comparisons to the alcohol industry of like, craft beer first came out and everybody wanted it and everyone wanted to try some. And then certain craft beers became really popular and people really stick to them true. I mean, like, I probably will order a Boneyard every place I go without even looking at the other stuff, even though that other stuff is great. I don't know if it's the name or the flavor, but something has resonated with me and I keep picking that. But then if someone, go to market of choice, I'm like, well, I will try that peach lager. That sounds good. And that kind of is like what we want to make sure keeps happening, that these small flavors and different things, and the genetic variety is huge. We see that so much. We go to farms, they have great flower, they truly have put care into it, and they're all growing the same genetics. And so I can't take a menu to a place and say like, hey, I have 4 varieties of purple punch. Someone wants 500, someone wants 200. They're taking the 200 no matter what. And that's what's kind of gotten into this like difficult era for everybody. So in a long version of saying that, a meeting would be the first place, and then kind of seeing what we have to offer. And we really do a custom job for every person. And so even if, it isn't exactly what you were hoping to get from us, hopefully we can offer something in that way.
Yeah, I was just going to say that, Sarah, that is really wonderful to hear, because when you first started sharing a little bit about your sales tactics and your experience and what you do, that's what I was thinking is like, you would be a wonderful resource of just knowledge and what you're seeing out there. Because yeah, our best success has been direct sales, and that sounds right. No rhyme or reason. Just it's so unique to each store, and I have to be the friendliest person in the world, no matter how many times I've reached out and this manager gave me their cell phone number, but still doesn't get back to me.
and it's your fault. It's always your fault.
No, it's not.
So as we,
but yeah, so that's a great resource. Thank you.
I don't want to take up the
Super
whole
valuable.
group's time here, but I would say that if you have the time anywhere in the month of September, which we will email you after this meeting to kind of link up with you, but like, if there's any time within this month that you would be able to come out, check out the farm, and that seems like a pretty good window to me, because then once we get to October, we start harvesting. It just gets hard for us at that point to have any kind of meetings or any kind of like show you around the farm type of time.
Yeah, absolutely. September
Okay.
is, everyone's in the valley. So I live, well, I guess it's called Mervolt, right between Murphy and Provolt. So it's pretty easy for me to get to anyone. Mondays and Fridays, I'm usually not on the road and available for these kinds of things.
It
Okay.
sounds like maybe we could coordinate a trip where we could try and make the one trip to visit multiple OSFF or SOFF farms
Yeah, absolutely.
and, you know, have meetings together to talk about your, you know, your
Total sense.
skill set, and that resource is really great, and kind of check all the Southern Oregon family farms.
Yeah.
Let's, so I have to personally go in about 25 minutes at 11. I have an 11 o'clock appointment. For the sake of this recording though, and for people who are gonna watch this after the fact, let's talk a little bit of shop if you want to. Does anybody have any like burning questions or burning needs that can be answered or addressed by the group? Because as I told you, Aaron, you've got your hand up.
Hello. So general prices for outdoor. I'm seeing 350 is like the price that's moving a lot. What's your opinion on that?
Are you asking Sarah?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd say if you have a lot and you really want to move it, we see some really high quality brands. Decibel, Williams, Wonder Farm. Am I saying that right? They're moving stuff at like 200, but I hear that it's running out. And so between like 200 and 400, kind of 400 would be like, you got a specific strain and they want a few pounds. But if you want to really move product right now, I'd say between 2 and 3 is really the choice, which I know that's not great, but it will leave your barn at that price.
Cool. Thank you.
I think that like Sarah, really nice to meet you. I'm really excited. I know that Kristine and I have been talking about doing like a show and tell. I do have a wholesale facility in Cave Junction, so maybe we could all get like representative pounds out there at some point, and then maybe, you know, we'd love to, I mean, I would love to hire you as a consult to kind of like assess and looking at a show and tell of all of our pounds and kind of figuring out and brainstorming on a group pitch. Cause that's, to me, that's going to be the hardest part. If we're like, you know, creating a group menu or each contributing to a group shelf, and how we make that fair and balanced and attractive. So your input on that would be absolutely amazing. And then just as far as pricing in the last 2 weeks, pricing in the last 2 weeks, I've gotten 3 to 5. And, you know, I mean, 5 is a reach. 4 felt like a pity purchase, but I'll take it. Like even internal grading, you know, like I'm trying to like look at the products that I have and kind of bring a spread, because like, you know, you don't want to sell your nicest ones for the shops that are going to give 2 or 3, you know, so like trying to figure out how to balance that. Yeah.
That's something. Nice to meet you also. That's something we really push our farms to do, is to internal grade and take their nicest stuff and keep that up at a high price, and then find the stuff that is least desirable. And, you know, that's definitely going to be different from what you think to what the shop thinks for whatever reason. They're, you know, and it's the hardest thing. I used to be a teacher. And so at parent teacher conferences, telling parents their kids are not thriving is like telling farmers their beautiful flower is not beautiful. And it's not beautiful, but it's a really hard thing to say to someone who grew something from the startup and takes care of it and loves it and spends their time and dedicates their life to it. I bet we could all say cannabis industry overtakes our lives. And so if you put that much passion into something, and then to have a purchaser say to you, like, I'll give you $200, you kind of want to cry. But I think if we can mature along with them and say, you know what, okay, like these bee buds, this flower, I don't like the structure, the nose isn't what I thought. For some reason, the name puts people off. That's between the 200 to 400. And you know what, I'm not going to sell this flower for less than 7. But if you put all your flour at 7, you're not going to have any money at the end of the month to pay your people. So if you grade it like that, then you kind of have, you can get what's worth and, sort of chip away. And we do see that right now. We're still selling a few pounds of outdoor last year's between 5 and 6. But I hate to put that number out there because that is based on a lot of facts, like relationship throughout the year. We've always delivered, going out to Eastern Oregon on a day that we don't go there, and really nice flour, just like the top of the top, a great test score, checks all the boxes. But predominantly we still move a lot of flour from our main farms right now at 450. But that again is same thing, like throughout the whole year, provided the whole thing, genetics that are really exciting, new stuff. And so there is space for that. And I think it is really hard to have a menu that's all sun grown in different farms and expect everyone to be able to get their share. Someone's just going to like a strain better. Someone's just going to like a logo better, something like that. So probably the move would be to try and create a shelf that is, hey, let me take up 5 jars on your shelf every month and fill it with SFO flour. And let me take all the pain out of it for you. Like, I'm going to bring it. I'm going to have the test results. I'm going to have the logos for you. It's all going to be done. And all you have to do is expect that every 3rd Wednesday, I come with the SFO shelf. Getting the purchasers to give you that shelf is not easy, but if you can get that little bit, probably starts at a lower price. And then that would be an internal option for you guys to make sure that everyone rotates through SFO. And usually at that point, they don't really care what you're bringing strain wise or which farm came in. If you're committing to that shelf, they always have the flour. It's always that price. It's a no-brainer. Their budget never changes. And that would be probably, I think, a good move for a co-op to try and get that little shelf space. And then you guys control whose flour goes on it. That would be, so looking at all the flour and kind of, within yourself being like, okay, SFO flour, these 10 farms, this is our top shelf. This is our mid shelf. This is our bottom shelf.
And I read the meeting notes from last time and the vote to not include light dep on the menu, which
let's finish.
Totally is. Can I finish my comment?
Okay, go ahead.
Which is totally fine, but I think that's I think that discussing menu and how we all come together and sell together and represent ourselves together is going to be the biggest challenge, because grading is really important, and just being on the road, I find it really, like in the last week, I've found it really beneficial because we do have fresh light dep to kind of like have that be offering products that are on different like quality scales, and to kind of like couple those together. I mean, I'm like the worst salesperson, and I'm just out here just banging it out, trying to do it and like way too honest and authentic, but like it's working. But I definitely feel like I bring bee buds, for 150, and I bring like stuff that is a little shaggier, and then I bring stuff that's like a little nicer, and then I have like a couple pounds from last year's light dep, and then I have this year's light dep. So like I was like, where you at? What you want? And try to like pitch it that way. So I just think that that's totally fine to not include light dep on the menu for now, but I do think that if light dep is sun grown, and I mean,
on the co-op menu, yeah,
it can take a variety of levels. I mean, we're pulling tarps over hoops by hand twice a day.
Yeah.
I mean, not because I hate it, but it is grown with the sun. So that's just my comment.
Well, Rhea, like those and we also voted on a couple of like somewhat controversial topics. So I would say let's take that to the next board meeting where we can actually hash those out a little bit more in depth, because the people who those I guess policies affected weren't present. So maybe when you guys are present to the board meeting, we can kind of hash that out. But this recording is going to go on for another like 18 minutes, and I just want to kind of stay on topic a little bit. And like I know Aaron's had his hand up for he had a question, so you remember that, Aaron?
Yeah, am I ready? Oh yeah, so my question is for Sarah. And Sarah, I used to grow organically, and I was really struggling to get numbers over 20%. And so I switched to nutrients, and bam, 29%. And it sucks. I really want to be a regenerative organic farmer. but it's tough to do at scale. And then the numbers just, pushed me. So my question is about products that test under 20%. They usually carry with them a really good production protocol and message and value. But my question with your market knowledge is, what's the response with farms that have these numbers that are a little bit lower on THC, but should have better practices and overall quality? And then also maybe the advice for how to better showcase products that have organic and sustainable practice support behind it.
Yeah, this is definitely something we come across often, especially that it's kind of two separate questions, because the testing scores is definitely if it's not above 20, they don't really want to hear anything you have to say. They just, and it's, I think a lot of it is miseducation of the purchasers, or just doesn't sell in their store. So they don't give you the chance to explain all the great things about it. They don't want to smell it. They don't want to hear about the farm. We actually do have a few places that this is really interesting. They only sell their own flower from their farms. So they have one shelf that they take outside flower, and they typically prefer under 20% because they don't want that flower to outshine their shelves. It's backwards. I don't understand it. But we do have a few outlets for like 17 to 19% flower. It's almost laughable. But that there are a few pockets, and this would be an exact case of where I would shop outside of my 4 or 5 primary farms, because when I've moved through that, then I'm still looking for like a 17% flower. So that's kind of, I think it's just what it is, and it sucks, but I have some shops who won't even take stuff under 25%. Just don't bring it, don't look at it, if it's on the menu, they'll look right over it. But separately, we're trying really hard to figure out how to get people. We work with a couple of farms that are really in that position of, it is organic, it is regenerative. They are doing things that the consumer, not the purchaser, but the consumer should know. And we're trying to educate the masses, bases like, you'll go to the grocery store and buy an organic avocado, but you'll go to the dispensary and smoke something that you have no idea what's in it. And it's I think it's maybe because it's such a new industry. What we've suggested to the step one is to kind of really push that information on an Instagram account and link yourself up with other things outside of the cannabis industry that are organic and are environmentally friendly and things like that, so that the consumer can make the choice. Like, I pick your farm, not because of the price, because I'm willing to pay a little more because it's that. And so we think it's very novice. We've tried, we've started an Instagram account that we've yet to post anything on about knowing your farmer. And we do have another farm who he's always, he kind of wants to band together and similar to what's kind of happening here, but kind of attack the dispensaries. But attacking your money source is not a good choice. And so I feel like education is more the thing. So even including note cards in your pounds, or like having things that can physically get to a consumer, but it has to be something that a consumer will actually read. So like, if you're handing out lighters, but the lighter has a little thing, it's really hard to like on the spot think of something, but something a consumer will pick up and then see like, oh my goodness, they use this instead of a nutrient or something like that. But it's really about educating the consumers, and that's what we want to do, but haven't really succeeded at that totally yet.
Right. Great answers. Great. A lot of good information. I think a lot of what the co-op is about is re-educating the consumer, like you're saying. Like, he's not here right now, but Eddie, he owns the Herbsman. He bought Dabtown and now he's rebranded to Herbsman. He's a licensed ganjier through the ganjier program. And I think there's a lot of re-education that has to happen just around that percentage of THC. Like, you don't go to Fred Meyer to buy a bottle of wine and like just buy the bottle of wine just because it has the highest, alcohol content. There's a lot more there than just the highest percentage THC. And it would be really nice to be able to like educate people on that. Like, you can get a better experience by maybe smoking a blend of CBD THC. Who knows? I don't know. but I think there's a lot of innovation that can happen from this industry going forward. And it's like getting over these like barriers of misinformation, just like the indoor versus outdoor conversation. It's something to think about. But you got any more questions for Sarah? Kristine has her hand up. You're muted though. Yeah, I'm mute.
Hi, I'm Kristine with Southern Oregon Moonshine. And I was wondering, so you said you're consistently in 40 dispensaries. Just on like, how much volume do you move like in total flower through those 40 dispensaries? I'm trying to kind of wrap my mind around how many consistent relationships we have to have with dispensaries to move 10 farms worth of product, basically, or how much, like, because that's to make a good business model moving forward with all of us together. We need to know how much flower we can all bring to market and how many dispensaries we have to get shelf space at. So just curious.
Yeah, those numbers are pretty tough because when I say 40, you know, one dispensary might buy from us every 6 weeks, but they'll buy 40 pounds every 6 weeks. And then, you know, one dispensary will see us every week and buy 2 pounds. And so it's a pretty difficult thing, but it's something I would be, you know, willing to kind of discuss with you further more in detail about like how it's pretty much by territory, and the volume between territories is very different. Out east, they buy a lot of volume. The price is cheaper. In Bend, they buy less volume, but a very consistent volume. The price is nice. Portland is a lot of like begging people to remember you from the week before. And Salem and Eugene, if you don't have cheap weed, just don't go there. The price is the move. And then Southern Oregon, which I find to be the most humorous because this is where we live. I have all three of my partners, all three of us have tried to really take on this area. And it is tough to get into these shops. We have a great meeting. They want it. They've never heard that strain. They're so excited to put it on their shelf. And then the next week they're like, oh, did we have an appointment? I'm busy. I'm like, but are you joking me? They would say, I don't want to say at least professional, but definitely have the most of their own agenda, probably due to the fact of the access of weed around, the people they know. If their shelf is empty, they have someone to call. They can have these friendlier terms with people to be like, oh yeah, I'll pay you next month. Or you know what, you used my tractor and my car and babysit my kid and then bring me a pound of weed. And so it's a little bit different down here, but that's something I'd be willing to discuss in a meeting, or like, you know, with a little more time to prep and explain kind of how it goes and what goes where. And the one thing that I will say that is huge, and this is why we really say we have a custom situation with every farm, is that it depends what you have to sell. So like, even if I said you went to all these stores, and like if the sun grown doesn't move off their shelves, they're not going to re-up next month. And so that's kind of like, you definitely need to overshoot the amount of dispensaries you need to be in, because they'll say, absolutely, I'll take 20 pounds from you a month. You'll go back and they'll be like, oh, you know what? I'll take 5 this month. It didn't sell. See me in 6 weeks. It's kind of like the consistency. And that really is based more on the consumer than the purchaser. I think in the past couple of years, dispensaries have been really, they've just learned their lesson, I guess, by overbuying and purchasing on a deal and being stuck with flour. And then COVID happened and everyone bought all the weed, and it was very exciting. And then people stopped having money, and now no one buys as much weed. And that was kind of like, you know, even people I know who are very finicky, like only smoke indoor, smoke the nicest, need the freshest, are now like taking last year's weed from their buddy's garage. And they're like, yeah, maybe just bring me that bag. That's fine. And I was like, oh, you only smoke indoor? Oh, you only smoke the finest? And now they're like, yeah, is it free? Okay, I'll take it. I'll smoke that. Great. So if those consumers are in dispensaries, that then rolls over to how much they can buy and take. But I'd be happy to share a little bit more insight about the volume we move per territory, and like what kind of numbers it sees and stuff like that.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Like, I think like Sarah and Rhea had said, like, it'd be so cool to get something going where we bring our product to Rhea's wholesale, or we do some kind of big farm tour and get our product graded and kind of learn more. That would be awesome.
Yeah, I think that would be the first step. I can share my email in here, and that's probably the first easiest step to just get a hold of me. And if you have questions like that, and then sort of figure out if it's better just to work as a group and like only have a meeting with SFO, or if you have things that you're interested in separately, or things knowing, we can work that out.
Thank you so much.
Hey,
I had a, I had a quick question about, hey man, when I'm talking, don't do that, but I'll mute it when we're done. I had a question about say like how to create that sale with a dispensary owner or purchaser or whatever. I think I get this feeling or opinion that they just really want it very conveniently brought to them at their terms, whatever they are. How can we get dispensaries to go on LeafLink and order, or to call us when they're ready, or does it not exist like that? Is that not reality?
You've pinpointed it exactly. They want super convenience. It's actually a little piece of what has worked for us, because when you sell just your own flower, you only have one thing to give people. I mean, a menu, but only one thing. And so if a purchaser doesn't need that week, they're like, you're no good to me this week. I don't need you. But we sell product. We do sell box products for a couple of places too. Same thing. Small companies trying to get everybody their piece, but they'll order these like consistently inexpensive dabs every week because they sell through. And so that means they have to see me every week. They have to hear from me every week. They're really used to seeing me. And then it's like, oh, hey, you're here. I also need flour. Oh, hey, but it is an entirely like 90% of my job is making sure that my two business partners are making the dispensaries happy exactly how they like it. I break up things into half pounds. I make invoices in funny ways. They need their invoice 12 hours before, not 13, not 4. They don't want it early. Some people like it manifested the night before. Some people need the manifest on the morning you're coming, or they won't take it at all. And by morning, they mean 9:45. And just knowing all these little things and always showing up. And when they call and they want something changed the night before, and I can call one of the farms, be like, hey, Mountain Sun, I'm coming at 6 tomorrow because I have to be there by noon, or they won't take it. Those sorts of things. It's challenging and annoying. I'll say the most annoying. But like I said, I was a teacher and I kind of did the same thing for administration, parents, and students, like always trying to make everybody happy. And that's kind of my job. And our hope is that that's going to go away. But I think only a few dispensaries right now really highly function. We use Apex. That's our ordering platform. We use it within people. We hear dispensaries definitely like LeafLink better. Apex works the best for us for inventory and financing. But I basically beg people, just order off there. The invoice comes right to you and they're like, I don't really like opening that email. The link is hard for me. On my phone, you have to push 2 buttons. And I'm like, yeah, I know. But then the whole thing is over. Like you push 2 buttons and then the product is coming and they're like, I'm not joining another thing. And so kind of working around that. And I'm basically the buffer to that. I'm like, oh, they won't go on Apex. You call me, I put in Apex. Oh, you like to email. Oh, like we're basically, I don't know. I've said it before, maybe this is overshare, but like, we're like cannabis fluffers. I just keep everybody happy on both sides. Like, just keep everybody happy. And that sells weed. What do you know?
I haven't been on the road since 2018, and I would say that I feel like the market, like the industry as a whole, has matured some.
Yes.
But like when I go to shops, I mean, I've just been asking, like drilling everyone, like what's your strategy? Are you doing ounce specials? How are you moving through product? How are you buying? How are you placing it? Because like I've had experiences where I sold 15 pounds to a shop at a good price, and then they put it on, but then they took it off because then it was outselling. It was like superior value to like the other products that they had on the shelf, which I understand. If I was the shop owner, I'd do the same thing. But it's so challenging to like decrease price and then still not be moving it because then it's too good.
Yeah.
It's outrageous. But yeah, I think asking a lot of questions and like gathering, I think that we should all do this, like gather notes, keep notes, and like start compiling a database. I mean, then the challenging thing is it changes every time with every intake manager. But then like if we gather statistics and facts about different things, then maybe we can start like analyzing those and looking at ways that we can train them.
Some shops are becoming very professional. I agree. One thing I would also recommend is banking. If you're not using banking, or if SFO can do banking together, even we are finding some shops like that I never would have ever thought would do anything but pay us cash are asking me for our banking information, and they won't. Some banks, some dispensaries won't work with farms who can't bank, which that is how sometimes we're also helpful, is that we'll sell to them so they can bank with us and we pay you. But that is the industry is maturing in that way, like doing your things the right way and having banking and stuff, which I know sucks. I live it. I have 3 bank accounts and some people can't, like, I know how much it sucks, but that is something that in some ways we see dispensaries maturing in that fashion.
Hey, listen, you guys, I have to get to an 11 o'clock appointment. I'm gonna go ahead and stop the video, but you guys could go ahead and keep talking. No problem there. So but I have to split. So thank you guys so much, Sarah and Greg and Lauren. Thanks for coming. And then we even have Krista on. But Krista, we'll get your introduction maybe next week if you want to come again and talk. All right, very good, you guys.